Ladies and gentlemen, life is not random. Nothing just happens. Everything you experience is a result of signals that were either followed or ignored. If you study history, if you observe the patterns of great men and women, if you look at your own life, you will realize something profound. Life always sends warnings before a crisis. Every downfall in history was preceded by ignored signs. Every missed opportunity came with a warning. Every regret you hold today could have been avoided if only you paid attention. Pain is a sign. When your body aches, it's telling you something is wrong. The same applies to your life. When you're constantly hurting in a relationship, in business, in your emotions, it's not normal. That pain is saying, pay attention, something needs to change. Loss is a sign. When you keep losing money, friendships, or opportunities, it's not just bad luck, it's a message. Something is out of order, but most people keep doing the same things, expecting different results. Restlessness is a sign. Have you ever felt like you don't belong where you are, like something is calling you higher? That's not just a feeling. It's a divine disturbance. You were never meant to settle in mediocrity. That discomfort is pushing you to change. Doors closing are signs. If opportunities keep drying up, it may not be a failure, it may be a redirection. Sometimes rejection is protection. Stop trying to force what is not meant for you. Some of you are frustrated right now because you're trying to revive something that life has already pronounced dead. A job, a relationship, a plan that no longer serves you. But instead of moving forward, you keep trying to make it work. You are ignoring the signs. Life is not random. Nothing just happens. Everything that unfolds in your life, whether good or bad, is preceded by signals. These signals are not always loud, but they are always present. The challenge is that most people are either too distracted, too comfortable, or too stubborn to notice them. Look at nature. Before a storm arrives, the winds shift, the sky darkens, and the air grows heavy. The animals sense it, the trees respond, and even the temperature changes. Everything in creation is built to recognize signs. And yet, human beings, with all our intelligence and wisdom, often ignore the very signals meant to guide us. History proves this truth over and over again. No great downfall, no sudden disaster, and no personal failure ever happened without warning. When businesses collapsed, the signs were there. Mismanaged finances, declining productivity, shifts in the market. When relationships fall apart, the signs were there. Neglected communication, unresolved conflicts, emotional distance. Even in personal health, the body always sends messages long before a crisis strikes. But warnings, no matter how clear, are useless if they are ignored. The problem is not that life doesn't warn us. The problem is that we don't listen. We explain things away. We convince ourselves that things will fix themselves, and we tell ourselves that we have time. But life does not wait for anyone. The warnings you ignore today will be the regrets you carry tomorrow. Pain is a warning. When something hurts, physically, emotionally, or mentally, it is a signal that something needs attention. You don't ignore a fire alarm when it goes off in a building, yet so many people ignore the alarms ringing in their own lives. Frustration is a warning. If you constantly feel stuck, unfulfilled, or restless, it is not just an inconvenience. It is life pushing you toward change. Delay is a warning. When doors that should be open remain shut, when every effort feels like a struggle, when progress seems impossible, something is misaligned. The difference between those who succeed and those who fail is not intelligence or talent. It is the ability to recognize and respond to life's warnings. Every major breakthrough, every great achievement, and every life-changing moment came to those who paid attention. They saw the signs, they made adjustments, and they acted before it was too late. What signs have you been ignoring? What is life trying to tell you? The answers are already there. You just have to listen. Ignoring signs is one of the most dangerous things a person can do because life does not send warnings without reason. Every downfall, every failure, every crisis that has ever happened was preceded by clear signals. The problem is never the absence of warnings, it is the refusal to acknowledge them. People do not just lose everything overnight. Relationships do not just fall apart suddenly. Businesses do not collapse without cause. Health does not deteriorate without prior symptoms. There were always signs, but when people choose to ignore them, disaster becomes inevitable. Consider a building with cracks in its foundation. At first, the cracks seem small, insignificant, something that can be overlooked. But over time, as pressure builds, the structure weakens until one day, the entire building collapses. The cracks were not the real problem. The real problem was ignoring them. This is how life works. Small warnings, small discomforts, small signs appear, but instead of taking action, people pretend they do not see them. They tell themselves it's not that bad. They hope the problem will fix itself. They delay addressing it until it is too late. History is filled with examples of those who ignored the signs and paid the price. Great empires fell because they ignored political unrest. Companies went bankrupt because they ignored shifts in the market. Individuals lost their way because they ignored the voice inside telling them to change course. The warnings were always there, but those who ignored them had to face the consequences. In everyday life, the same principle applies. People remain in toxic relationships long after the signs have warned them to leave. They stay in unfulfilling jobs, ignoring the frustration building inside them. They neglect their health, ignoring the early symptoms until they are forced to deal with a major illness. They mishandle money, ignoring the warning signs of financial trouble until they find themselves in debt they can no longer escape. The truth is, life does not allow ignored warnings to go unanswered. What you refuse to deal with today will deal with you tomorrow. The longer you ignore the signs, the greater the cost when the consequences arrive. No one is exempt from this reality. Wisdom is not just knowing what to do, it is recognizing when action is needed. Disaster does not come without warning. It is always the result of signs that were ignored. Pain is never just pain. It is a message, a signal, an alert that something is wrong and needs attention. In every area of life, whether physical, emotional, mental, or even spiritual, pain is the body's and the mind's way of saying, stop, look, fix this before it gets worse. But too often, people do the opposite. Instead of listening to the pain, they numb it. Instead of addressing the cause, they suppress the symptoms. Instead of making necessary changes, they learn to live with what is breaking them. In the physical body, pain is a survival mechanism. If you touch something hot, the pain forces you to pull your hand away before you suffer serious injury. If there is an infection in your body, pain signals that something inside needs to be treated. When people ignore these signals, when they mask pain with temporary relief instead of dealing with the root problem, they set themselves up for greater damage. A small pain ignored today can become a life-threatening condition tomorrow. The same principle applies to emotional pain. When relationships become draining, when trust is constantly broken, when you feel unappreciated, unheard, and exhausted, that pain is not just an inconvenience, it is a warning. It is telling you that something in that relationship needs to change or that you may need to walk away, but too many people stay in situations that are slowly destroying them because they convince themselves that pain is normal. Pain may be a part of life, but constant pain is not supposed to be a way of life. Mental pain is another sign that people often ignore. Stress, anxiety, and overwhelming frustration are not just feelings, they are signals. They are telling you that your mind is overloaded, that your environment is toxic, that your life is out of balance. But instead of making adjustments, people convince themselves that they just need to push through. They silence their own suffering until they reach the breaking point. Even spiritual pain, the deep dissatisfaction, the feeling of being lost, the emptiness that success cannot fill, is a sign. It is life telling you that you are disconnected from your purpose, that you are living below your potential, that you need to realign with something greater than yourself. But rather than seek that realignment, people try to fill the void with distractions, achievements, or temporary pleasures, only to realize that nothing truly satisfies. Pain is never random. It always has a cause and it always has a purpose. It is meant to wake you up, to make you aware, to push you toward healing, growth, and change. Those who ignore pain end up suffering more in the long run, while those who listen to its message find the wisdom to correct their course before it's too late. Loss is never just loss. It is always a signal, a message, a sign that something in your life is shifting, changing, or requiring your attention. Nothing is ever truly lost without cause. When people experience loss, whether in relationships, opportunities, finances, or even personal well-being, it is easy to see it as mere misfortune, but loss is often life's way of redirecting, refining, or revealing something deeper. The challenge is that most people view loss as the end of something rather than the beginning of understanding. When people lose relationships, it is rarely sudden. There were signs, small moments of distance, changes in communication, repeated disappointments, but they were ignored. When trust is broken and connections fall apart, loss is sending a message that something was not being nurtured, that values were not aligned, or that a season has ended. But instead of accepting this truth, many try to force what is already gone, holding on to people who have already let go, refusing to acknowledge that loss is sometimes protection. Loss in finances or opportunities is another sign that people often overlook. Money does not just disappear. A failing business does not collapse overnight. There were warnings, poor management, neglected risks, changing markets. But when these signs are ignored, loss becomes inevitable. The same happens with career opportunities. When doors close repeatedly, when promotions are denied, when progress seems impossible, loss is sending a message. Either you are in the wrong place, making the wrong choices, or failing to recognize the right opportunities. Even the loss of time and energy is a sign. When exhaustion sets in, when life feels unproductive, when passion begins to fade, something is being drained. Perhaps it is a job that no longer fulfills you, a relationship that depletes you, or a routine that no longer serves your growth. Loss is not just about things being taken away. It is about showing you what is no longer beneficial. Sometimes, loss happens to make room for something greater. There are moments when what you hold on to is actually preventing you from receiving something better. But as long as you see loss as only pain and not as direction, you will miss the lesson it is trying to teach you. Every loss carries a message, a lesson, and an opportunity. The question is, will you pay attention to what it is revealing? Delay is not denial, it is a sign. It is life's way of telling you that something is not yet aligned, that there are factors unseen, that preparation is still required. But most people misunderstand delay. They see it as failure, as rejection, as an obstacle, when, in reality, it is often divine timing at work. Nothing meaningful happens before its appointed time, and when delay occurs, it is not to frustrate you, but to develop you. When progress slows down, when doors remain shut despite effort, when things do not move according to your timeline, delay is sending a message. Sometimes it is revealing that you are not yet ready for what you are asking for. A tree does not bear fruit in winter, no matter how much you desire it. A foundation must be strong before a building rises, or else it will collapse under its own weight. Many people rush into opportunities, relationships, or decisions before they are truly prepared, only to later realize that what they wanted was greater than what they were able to handle. Delay, in this case, is protection. Other times, delay is showing you that the path you are on is not the right one. When every step forward feels like a struggle, when doors keep closing, when no matter how hard you push, nothing works, it is a sign that something needs to change. Maybe you are pursuing the wrong opportunity. Maybe you are forcing something that is not meant for you. Maybe you are being redirected to something better, but you are too focused on your own plans to notice. Delay can also be a test. It exposes character, reveals patience, and refines discipline. How you handle delay determines how you will handle success. Those who give up in the waiting season prove they were never truly committed. But those who learn to grow in the delay, to develop their skills, to refine their mindset, and to prepare for what is coming, these are the ones who will be ready when the opportunity finally arrives. Delay is never without purpose. It is either preparing you, protecting you, or redirecting you. The question is, will you trust the process or will you resist it? Will you learn from the delay or will you fight against it? Those who understand the signs of delay do not waste time complaining. They use the time to become ready, because when the time is right, nothing can stop what is meant to be. Frustration is not just an emotion, it is a signal. It is life's way of telling you that something is out of order, that something needs to change, that you are either in the wrong place, doing the wrong thing, or handling something the wrong way. People often view frustration as a problem, but in reality, it is a messenger. It is trying to get your attention before the situation turns into a crisis. The danger is not in feeling frustrated. The danger is in ignoring what frustration is trying to reveal. When you feel stuck in a job, when your work no longer excites you, when every day feels like a burden rather than a purpose, frustration is not there to make you suffer. It is there to push you towards something greater. It is telling you that you are either meant for more, that you have outgrown your current environment, or that you need to shift your approach. But instead of listening to frustration, most people suppress it. They convince themselves that it is normal to feel unfulfilled, that they should just endure it, that someday things will change on their own. But frustration does not disappear on its own. It intensifies until action is taken. In relationships, frustration is a warning. When communication breaks down, when conflicts repeat themselves, when you feel unheard, unseen, or undervalued, frustration is telling you that something is missing. It is telling you that expectations are not being met, that growth is not happening, that something is unhealthy. But instead of addressing the real issue, many people choose to tolerate it. They suppress their feelings, they avoid difficult conversations, they settle for dysfunction until one day frustration turns into resentment and the relationship collapses. Even in personal development, frustration is a sign that you are not fully stepping into your potential. When you feel restless, when you know you are capable of more but seem to be held back, that is frustration calling you higher. It is showing you that your current level is too small for you, that you need to take risks, develop new skills, or change your strategy. Those who ignore this feeling often find themselves living in cycles of mediocrity, wondering why they never reach their full potential. Frustration is not the enemy, it is an invitation to growth. It is a sign that something in your life is demanding change. The question is, will you respond to it, or will you continue to ignore the signs until frustration turns into regret? Restlessness is not just a feeling, it is a sign that something deep inside you is unsettled. It is life's way of telling you that where you are is no longer where you are meant to be. When you feel uneasy, when sleep becomes difficult, when you can't shake the sense that there is more for you, restlessness is not there to annoy you, it is there to awaken you. It is trying to push you out of complacency, to stir something inside you, to break you free from a place that is too small for your purpose. Many people ignore restlessness. They call it stress, they dismiss it as overthinking, they distract themselves with entertainment, work, or socializing. They do everything except listen to what it is trying to tell them. But the truth is, restlessness does not come without reason. It comes when your spirit knows you were created for more, when your potential is being stifled, when your dreams have been buried under routine and obligation. It is a sign that life is calling you to something greater, but you have not yet responded. In careers, restlessness is a sign that you have either outgrown your environment or that you are not fully aligned with your purpose. It is that nagging feeling that what once excited you no longer fulfills you. It is that inner voice telling you that you were meant to do something different, something greater, something more impactful. But instead of exploring this, most people choose to silence it. They convince themselves that they should be grateful for what they have, that change is too risky, that they are overreacting. But restlessness does not lie. It does not leave until its message has been heard. In relationships, restlessness often comes when you are in a space that no longer nurtures your growth. It shows up when conversations feel empty, when interactions feel forced, when deep inside you know something is missing. It is life's way of telling you that you are either holding on to something that has run its course, or that you need to make necessary changes before the relationship deteriorates further. Ignoring it does not make it go away. It only delays the inevitable. Even in personal development, restlessness is a sign that you are being stretched. It is an indication that your mind, your spirit, your abilities are yearning for expansion. When you feel restless, it means you are not satisfied with surface level living. It means you are being called to a higher version of yourself, to new challenges, to new learning, to new breakthroughs. But the question is, will you embrace the call, or will you keep suppressing what is trying to wake you up? Restlessness is not your enemy, it is your guide. It does not come to disturb you without purpose. It comes to shake you, to push you, to remind you that there is more for you. The only mistake you can make is to ignore it. Lack of growth is not just a condition. It is a sign that something in your life is stagnant, misaligned, or in need of change. Nothing in life is designed to remain the same. Everything in nature grows, expands, and transforms over time. When growth stops, it is not because the potential is missing, it is because something is restricting it. The danger is not in experiencing seasons of slow progress. The danger is in accepting stagnation as normal. When you find yourself in the same place year after year with no new progress, no new skills, no new understanding, and no new breakthroughs, that is not just life being unfair. It is a sign that something needs to shift. It could be your mindset, your environment, your habits, or your willingness to take risks. Growth never happens by accident. It is the result of intentional change. When people ignore the signs of stagnation, they settle into cycles of frustration, wondering why nothing is changing, when in reality, the warning was always there. In careers, lack of growth is a clear sign that either you are in the wrong place or you are not maximizing your potential. If you have been doing the same thing for years with no advancement, no increase in knowledge, no new challenges, then the problem is not the job. It is either the environment you have chosen or the fear that has kept you from reaching for more. Every industry evolves, every field progresses, and those who do not grow with it eventually become irrelevant. Stagnation is not a coincidence, it is a warning that action is required. In relationships, when growth stops, connection weakens. A healthy relationship should inspire personal development, new experiences, deeper understanding, and shared progress. When a relationship becomes routine, when conversations no longer stimulate, when both people remain the same year after year without pushing each other toward higher levels, that is a sign that something is missing. Love alone does not sustain a relationship. Growth does. When two people stop evolving together, they eventually grow apart. Lack of growth in personal life is the clearest sign that you are not being challenged. If your mindset, your abilities, your perspectives, and your understanding are the same as they were years ago, then something has been neglected. Growth is not automatic. It requires effort. It requires exposing yourself to new ideas, stepping outside of comfort zones, and embracing the discomfort of learning and unlearning. Those who resist growth end up trapped in a reality that no longer fits who they are meant to become. The truth is, life is always trying to move you forward. If you are not growing, it is not because there are no opportunities. It is because something in your life is keeping you from taking them. The question is, will you recognize the sign, or will you continue to accept a level of living that was never meant to be your final destination? Repetition is not just routine, it is a sign. When the same struggles keep resurfacing, when the same failures keep occurring, when the same conflicts keep repeating, life is trying to get your attention. Nothing happens over and over again without a reason. Patterns exist because something has not been addressed, something has not been learned, or something is being ignored. The danger is not in experiencing repetition. The danger is in failing to recognize what it is trying to teach you. When you find yourself in the same toxic relationships, dealing with the same disappointments, facing the same obstacles, it is not just bad luck. It is a sign that a lesson has not been learned. Life does not move you forward until you master what is necessary at your current level. Many people blame others, blame circumstances, blame fate, but they never stop to ask, what is this trying to teach me? Repetition is life's way of saying, until you change, this will not change. In careers, repetition is a sign that growth is being resisted. If you are facing the same workplace frustrations, hitting the same limitations, dealing with the same lack of fulfillment, it is not by accident. It is a message that either you are not developing the skills required to move forward or you are in the wrong environment altogether. Doors do not remain closed without reason. Either you are not prepared for the next level or you are knocking on the wrong door entirely. In relationships, when the same arguments happen, when the same misunderstandings occur, when the same disappointments repeat, something deeper is being revealed. Either communication is broken, values are misaligned, or something is being left unresolved. Love does not thrive in cycles of dysfunction. Until the root issue is acknowledged, the same problems will keep returning no matter how many times you try to start over. Even in personal struggles, repetition is a sign that internal work has been neglected. If you keep battling the same fears, the same self-doubt, the same destructive habits, it is not because change is impossible, it is because something is being avoided. Growth does not happen by chance, it happens when you confront what has been keeping you stuck. Repetition is life's way of saying, this cycle will continue until you decide to break it. Life does not send new challenges until old lessons have been learned. If something keeps repeating, it is because there is something you have yet to change, understand, or accept. The question is, will you recognize the sign and make a change, or will you continue going in circles, mistaking repetition for fate when it is really just a call to transformation? The inner voice is not just a thought, it is a sign. It is the quiet but powerful whisper that speaks when everything else is loud. It is the sense that warns you before something goes wrong, the knowing that guides you before you understand why, the pull towards something greater even when logic says to stay where you are. Life does not always give loud announcements. Sometimes it speaks in stillness. But the problem is, most people do not listen. Every great decision, every major breakthrough, every significant moment of clarity begins with the inner voice. It is the part of you that knows before your mind catches up. It tells you when something is not right, when a situation is draining your spirit, when an opportunity is not meant for you, and when it is time to step into something new. But instead of trusting it, people doubt it. They silence it with overthinking, dismiss it with logic, bury it under opinions, until eventually they lose connection with their own intuition. When you ignore your inner voice, you allow confusion to take over. You start looking for external validation, seeking answers from people who do not know your purpose, allowing fear to override wisdom. But the truth is, no one knows the direction for your life better than the voice inside you. It is the reason you feel uneasy before making a wrong choice. It is why certain places drain you while others energize you. It is why something inside you feels restless when you are settling for less than what you were created for. That is not random. That is a sign. In relationships, your inner voice always knows. It knows when someone's words do not match their actions. It knows when trust is being broken before there is proof. It knows when a relationship is no longer serving you, even when emotions make you want to hold on. But too often, people ignore that inner knowing. They convince themselves that they are overreacting, that things will get better, that they should just wait. And then when the truth is finally revealed, they realize they knew all along. In personal growth, the inner voice is the guide that pushes you toward your purpose. It is the spark that tells you that you are meant for more. It is the feeling that reminds you that where you are is too small for your potential. But when you ignore it, you stay trapped in comfort, afraid to take risks, afraid to step into the unknown. Growth requires trust. Trust in the voice that is calling you forward, trust in the instinct that knows the difference between where you are and where you are meant to be. The inner voice is not just random thoughts. It is life trying to direct you. It is wisdom before experience, warning before mistakes, guidance before understanding. The question is, will you listen, or will you keep ignoring the very sign that was meant to lead you to everything you were designed for? The people around you changing is not just coincidence, it is a sign. Life shifts people in and out of your journey for a reason. When those closest to you start acting differently, when relationships feel distant, when circles evolve, it is not random. It is an indication that something in your life is shifting. Nothing stays the same forever. And when people begin to change, it is a signal that you too are either growing, being tested, or being repositioned for something greater. When you elevate, not everyone will rise with you. Growth creates separation. The conversations that once felt fulfilling may no longer stimulate you. The people you once relied on may no longer understand you. Some will support your evolution while others will resist it. But when you notice people pulling away, changing behavior, or no longer fitting into your life the way they used to, it is a sign that either you or they are moving in a different direction. The mistake is in holding on too tightly to what is meant to shift. Sometimes people change because seasons in your life are ending. Not every relationship is meant to last forever. Some people are there for a chapter, a lesson, or a moment of growth. When their purpose in your life has been fulfilled, the dynamic shifts. But instead of accepting this, many try to force connections that no longer serve them. They chase friendships that have run their course. They cling to relationships that no longer align. They fight against the natural progression of life instead of allowing it to unfold. Other times, people around you change as a test. Life will reveal who truly supports you when circumstances shift. When success comes, you will see who celebrates you genuinely and who grows distant in quiet resentment. When struggles arise, you will see who stands by you and who disappears when you have nothing to offer. Pay attention to these changes because they reveal what words cannot. Loyalty is not proven in convenience, it is proven in transition. And then there are moments when people around you change because you are being prepared for something greater. Certain environments, certain mindsets, certain influences cannot go with you where you are headed. When your thinking expands, your company will reflect that expansion. When your vision grows, some people will no longer fit into that vision. This is not rejection, it is refinement. It is life making room for what is next. People changing is not a loss, it is an indication of movement. The key is to recognize when to let go, when to adjust, and when to embrace the transformation without resistance. Nothing that is truly meant for you will ever be lost. The question is, will you accept the shift, or will you hold on to what life is trying to remove? Doors closing are not just disappointments, they are signs. When opportunities slip away, when plans do not work out, when something you deeply wanted does not happen, it is not always failure, it is often redirection. Life does not close doors without reason. A closed door is protection, preparation, or repositioning. The problem is not the door shutting. The problem is how people respond to it. Most people see it as rejection, as a sign to give up, as proof that they are not good enough, when in reality it is a sign that something better, something more aligned is ahead. Some doors close because you are not ready. Just because you desire something does not mean you are prepared to handle it. If you receive a blessing too soon, it can become a burden. If you step into a position you are not developed for, it can crush you. Many times, what feels like denial is actually delay, giving you time to grow into the person who can sustain what you are asking for. The worst thing is not missing an opportunity. The worst thing is receiving one you are not equipped to handle. Other doors close because you are aiming too low. Sometimes, life will block an opportunity because it knows you are settling for less than what you were designed for. It knows that what you are pursuing is too small, too limiting, too far from your true purpose. And because you will not leave on your own, the door must shut to force you to look elsewhere. What you see as rejection is often life refusing to let you accept less than what you are capable of. Some doors close as a form of protection. There are opportunities that look good but are full of hidden dangers. There are relationships that seem perfect but would have led to heartbreak. There are career paths that promise success but would have drained your soul. When a door closes, it is often because something unseen is being kept from you. And while you may not understand in the moment, time will always reveal why it had to happen that way. And then there are doors that close to push you forward. When you become too comfortable, when you stop growing, when you refuse to move, life will shut the very things you rely on to force you into the next level. Some people would never leave their jobs unless they were laid off. Some would never end toxic relationships unless they were forced to. Some would never pursue their true calling unless every other path was blocked. Closed doors are sometimes the only way to make sure you do not stay where you do not belong. A closed door is never the end. It is always a sign. It is a moment that demands trust, a moment that requires faith, a moment that calls for a shift in perspective. The question is, will you keep knocking on something that is no longer meant for you, or will you recognize that sometimes a closed door is the greatest blessing you never asked for? Success without peace is not true success. It is a sign that something is off. When you achieve what you thought you wanted, when you reach the goals you worked so hard for, when you finally get the position, the money, the recognition, but deep inside you still feel restless, empty, or burdened, that is not an achievement to celebrate. it is a warning to pay attention to. The world teaches that success is about accumulation, about status, about reaching the top. But if you arrive there and find that you have lost yourself in the process, what have you really gained? Many people chase success, believing that once they reach a certain level, all their worries, insecurities, and struggles will disappear. But success does not heal what is broken inside. It does not erase unresolved pain. It does not fill spiritual emptiness, and it does not replace the need for purpose. If you have everything you thought you wanted, yet peace still escapes you, it is a sign that what you were chasing was never meant to be the answer. Some achieve success at the cost of their well-being. They push themselves beyond limits, sacrifice health, neglect relationships, and silence their inner voice, all for the sake of a title, a paycheck, or external validation. But the moment they get it, the weight of what they lost becomes heavier than the reward of what they gained. If success leaves you exhausted, disconnected, or trapped in a cycle of anxiety, it is not a reward. It is a signal that something needs to change. Others reach success but feel unfulfilled because they were climbing the wrong ladder. They spent years pursuing something that looked good but was never truly aligned with their purpose. They followed the expectations of society, family, or culture, only to realize that what they built does not bring them joy. When you achieve success and still feel empty, it is not failure. It is an invitation to realign, to ask yourself if you are truly living out the reason you were created. True success is not just about what you have, it is about who you become. If success costs you peace, it is not a sign of accomplishment. It is a sign of misalignment. The greatest success is not in having more, but in becoming whole, in living with purpose, in knowing that what you have built is not just impressive to others, but meaningful to you. The question is, will you continue chasing an empty version of success, or will you stop and listen to what your lack of peace is trying to tell you? A sudden disruption is not just an inconvenience, it is a sign. When life unexpectedly shifts, when plans fall apart without warning, when what was steady and predictable is suddenly shaken, it is not by accident. Disruptions force movement, they demand attention, and they signal that something needs to change. Nothing happens without purpose, and when your routine is interrupted, when your path is unexpectedly blocked, it is a message that there is something you need to see, something you need to learn, or something you need to leave behind. Disruptions come in many forms: losing a job, a sudden breakup, an unexpected detour, a failed opportunity. In the moment, they feel frustrating, even painful, but often what seems like a setback is actually a setup for something greater. Life has a way of removing what no longer serves you, even when you are unwilling to let go. When you refuse to make a change, disruption forces the change for you. Some of the greatest breakthroughs happen not because people planned them, but because life interrupted their comfort and pushed them toward something better. Some disruptions happen because you have outgrown where you are. You may not recognize it yet, but the place you have been in, physically, emotionally, or spiritually, can no longer sustain your next level. When growth is necessary, stagnation becomes impossible. Life will shake things up to push you out of what is familiar and into what is necessary. What feels like chaos is often creation, the breaking down of the old to make way for the new. Other disruptions are tests. They reveal what you truly believe, what you are truly made of, and how much you trust the process of life. Many people panic in disruption, resisting it, fighting to hold on to what is already falling apart. But those who recognize it as a sign do not waste time in frustration. They ask, what is this trying to show me? Where is this trying to lead me? They understand that when things suddenly shift, it is not random, it is divine redirection. And then there are disruptions that serve as protection. Sometimes what you were pursuing was never meant for you. Sometimes a closed door, a canceled opportunity, or an unexpected change is saving you from something you could not see. Life knows what is ahead, and when danger or disaster is in the path, disruption comes to pull you away before it is too late. In the moment, it may feel unfair, but with time you will look back and see that what was removed was never meant to remain. A sudden disruption is never just about what is lost, it is about what is being prepared. It is a sign that something new is unfolding, that change is necessary, that movement is required. The question is, will you resist it in frustration, or will you embrace it and trust that what is being interrupted is only making room for something far greater? Wisdom is not just in knowledge, it is in recognizing signs. Life is always speaking, always guiding, always revealing what you need to know. But the question is, do you have the awareness to see it? The difference between those who thrive and those who struggle is not luck, it is perception. Some people go through life blind to the patterns, the warnings, the signals that something needs to change. They ignore the restlessness in their spirit, the closed doors, the disruptions, the repetition of struggles, and then wonder why they remain stuck. But those who are wise, those who understand that nothing happens by accident, pay attention. They do not just see what is in front of them, they discern what it means. Wisdom is in recognizing that pain is not just suffering. It is a sign that something needs healing. It is in understanding that loss is not just emptiness. It is a shift that is making space for something new. It is in seeing that delay is not denial. It is preparation. It is in knowing that when you feel stuck, when the same problems keep repeating, life is demanding that you change before you can move forward. Nothing is random. Every experience, every challenge, every moment of discomfort is communicating something, but only those who are wise enough to look beyond the surface will understand the message. The unwise ignore signs and call it fate. They keep walking into the same broken situations and blame the world for their struggles. They keep surrounding themselves with the wrong people and wonder why they feel drained. They keep pursuing things that bring no peace and wonder why they are unfulfilled. But wisdom is in stopping, in reflecting, in asking, what is life trying to teach me? What is this moment revealing? Every struggle contains a lesson. Every shift carries meaning. Every disruption is an opportunity to see beyond what is obvious. True wisdom is not just intelligence, it is alignment. It is knowing when to let go, when to move forward, when to embrace change instead of resisting it. It is understanding that a closed door is not rejection, it is redirection. It is realizing that when people leave, it is not abandonment, it is life removing what no longer fits your future. It is the awareness that success without peace is a warning, that inner restlessness is a guide, that discomfort is not just suffering, it is growth in disguise. Recognizing signs does not mean life will be easy, but it does mean you will not waste time fighting against what is meant to happen. It means you will move with purpose instead of confusion. It means you will stop chasing what was never meant for you and start stepping into what is. Wisdom is not found in waiting for things to become clear. It is found in paying attention to what has been clear all along. The question is, will you see the signs before they become regrets? Wisdom is in recognizing the signs, but transformation is in acting on them. Life is not random. Every experience, every shift, every delay, every closed door is speaking. The question is not whether the signs are there. The question is whether you will listen. Some people spend their entire lives ignoring what is right in front of them, choosing comfort over calling, routine over revelation, and familiarity over faith. But true wisdom is not just in seeing the signs, it is in responding to them. Do not wait until the pain becomes unbearable. Do not wait until the loss is too great. Do not wait until life has to force you to move. The signs are already there. Pay attention, adjust where you need to, let go when it is necessary, trust when things shift, because the moment you stop ignoring the signs is the moment you stop wandering through life and start walking in purpose.